Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Real Estate Plate. As always, I'm your host, Nick Sakalis, coming to you live from the WGBB studios here in lovely Merrick, New York. And I am especially in a chipper mood today because I'm absolutely loving this weather today. I don't know about everybody else, but April, May is probably some of my favorite time of the year. That and October. But I love the weather itself. It's not too hot, not too cold. The sun's out, the days are longer, and plenty of extra daylight hours to be able to sell property in. So that definitely helps my cause. So I'm loving it. I'm happy. Easter's right around the corner. Passover's right on the corner. It's just that time of the year that, everything is starting to really come together. That being said, if anybody would like to call in live to the studio, the number here is 516-623-1240. And as you can tell from my disheveled voice, I'm scrambling, running last second the way I normally do, getting to the show because it's another day in real estate. I'm running last second, running from one appointment to the other, and everybody knows my pet peeve. When somebody runs late on one of my appointments, it basically turns and runs me ragged as far as setting my schedule off its norm. But that being said, I actually have something really important that I wanted to go by. I mean, obviously, a lot of new listings have hit the market. There have been a lot of positive things as far as the way the real estate market is coming together right now. A lot of the negative type of stuff that was talked about hasn't played a role yet, and it hasn't been necessarily a factor. And I'm very happy about that. Homes are selling, buyers are out in full blast, and all of a sudden we get a article from Newsday. And this doesn't affect the entire island, but it does affect islands that are on the water, basically. And it has to do with the flood insurance premiums. For everybody that doesn't know and didn't read the news, that it came out a few days ago, where basically they put something out there to really put some fear factor into a lot of people. And to some extent, it is very scary. But at the same time, if you're understanding the situation and you go in to it prepared, it doesn't have to be scary. And actually, it could be a situation that doesn't even affect you. And for everybody that's looking on Facebook Live, this is the article that I was talking about. Let's see, camera sucks. So, big, bold letters showing coastal town. I'm not sure which town this is that they're showing here on the paper. I wish they gave some credit to the actual picture and the area that they put in there, but here it says flood insurance new premiums, and it's basically talking about the federal rate revamp. And I did print out the whole article, and you know what, I'm going to put a link to this article after we're done with this feed, in case anybody wanted to go and read it in detail by themselves. But basically, I wanted to go over a few highlights and a few things that people really need to understand, and at the same time, trying to put a little bit light in this very dark article that they put together, because we're talking about, what they're talking about right now is the risk rating 2.0. And I'm going to basically break this down in a way where it's as simple as possible, because there's a lot of it that if you're not on the water, you really don't understand, and it's not a very simple thing that I could just um, explain everything and make it clear to everybody with one quick glance and on a short show like this. But to basically put it in a very simple way, we're looking at the rates all going up collectively by 2020. They're going to be looking at everything, and some things are going to be rezoned. And this is because of all the money that's been paid out to by FEMA over the past few years, all over the major type of disasters that we've had. Now, everybody here is familiar with what happened with us in with Sandy. And when we had Sandy, we had a situation that we had 8.8 billion paid out because of that storm in the Northeast by FEMA. That's a huge number. Besides having that 8.8 billion that was paid out to Sandy victims on the Northeast, we also had, which one was this? They had 8.9 billion that went out to Katrina victims, which is another huge disaster. You know, besides that, I'm sorry, Harvey was the one that cost 8.9 billion. Katrina was a disaster in itself, and it completely dwarfed everything else. They don't actually have the actual full number that was paid out to Katrina, but to make a long story short, we're talking about within a short period of time, 5 storms that had hit us were about $81 billion in property damage, and you're looking at an overall economic impact of 150 billion. So basically, FEMA is looking at this situation, and they're evaluating everything and saying to themselves, we just can't keep paying out this money. It's not as if we're not going to get in the storm. It's not as if there's not going to be another disaster coming down the line, because when you're by the water, it's inevitable that you're going to have a storm. There might be flooding somewhere. There might be some kind of situation that you're looking at. Now, that being said, they're looking at it, well, we can't kick everybody out, or that's another topic altogether, because there's some kind of fright letters being sent out as well to certain parts of the island. Basically, it's almost like a threat to people of, if you don't comply, then you're going to be in bad shape. And I'll get into that later down the line of how scary that is, and how it's freaked out a lot of homeowners in a different way. But what we're looking at is a situation where, unless all the homes are modified or lifted to some extent, or at least brought to some kind of elevation where they're not going to be affected by your average or above average storms, we're going to have an ongoing problem where there's going to be money constantly poured out by FEMA, and it's just not sustainable. And that part of it, I do understand. That part, as much as it hurts a lot of people that are living in their homes that have been damaged in the past and never did the proper modifications in order to not be affected by that again, my heart goes out to them. But the truth be said, FEMA just can't keep paying out to homes that haven't done the right type of thing for their homes. So that brings us to another thing. A lot of the money that was given out by FEMA was meant to rehab and restore and lift their homes. Many people did not lift their homes. They repaired the home. They brought it up to where it should be. In some cases, they modified it and made it better than what it used to be. But they didn't address that elevation issue. And that was the number one thing we should have addressed. And the problem with a lot of that was that, one, a lot of people didn't want to be inconvenienced. They don't want to be displaced from their homes for extended periods of time, because believe me, you could be displaced and you could be out of your home for a very long time while you're doing a lift, especially if it's a complicated type of home. The smaller homes are a little easier, like your typical ranch, like that kind of thing, and even those could get complicated. But when you're looking at it from a point of view that I might be out of my house for months, and then to top it off, the money that's coming in from FEMA is not enough to completely raise the house. And, you know, they give you the standard numbers from FEMA. A lot of people got that $35,000 grant, or however you want to call it, gift to lift their home. But the problem was that was for only basically lifting the place. What about the electrical? What about the plumbing? What about all the additional things that are required in order to get yourself where you need to be? It just doesn't end with putting the house in an elevation. There's a lot of other components to the house that need to be addressed, and that all costs money. So you had a lot of people that didn't take that opportunity to do what they needed to do, and it's unfortunate. And the article that came out, this article that I'm looking at right now was the one that had come out on the 7th, which was yesterday. And it got really into all the details. I mean, I'm not going to read everything word for word as far as the letter, what it said. But basically, it's really focusing on the South Shore. And there's a few things that they neglected to include. They did include a little thing at the end, and I will read that. It gives us an example. One, it says at the end that in total, the state had committed to elevating nearly 3,500 Long Island homes, with just over half already completed, officials said. So that's not really progress. It's been about 6 years. Actually, it's been over 6 years since we got hit by Sandy. We should have been close to completion by now. I'll give them this one. We weren't prepared for a state of emergency of that level because we hadn't been hit by a storm like that probably over 100 years. And when we got last hit by a storm like that, the infrastructure was in the same place, and we didn't have nearly as many homes that were affected because obviously the population was a lot lower at that point. But then they bring out a example of a person by the name of Robert Connell, saw his flood insurance plummet from $1,800 to $542 a year after he received funds from New York Rising, the state storm recovery program, to elevate his Belmore Ranch home, which suffered $70,000 in damage from Sandy. Okay, so that's a perfect example, and I wish they gave a little bit more emphasis on some of those examples compared to only really emphasizing on the doom and gloom. Because here's the thing, everybody that actually elevated their homes properly and did the right lifts on their homes did see a reduction in their flood insurance, and they did, and they're at favorable rates at this moment. So why am I saying all this? I have homeowners that I'm dealing with on the South Shore, some on the North Shore, but primarily on the South Shore, where they're all by the water. And some of them are new construction, some of them are lifted properly, some are reconstructed with a proper elevation, and some of them are not. And actually, a lot of them are not. And I know the homeowners don't like to talk about these things, and they're probably not going to be happy about me talking about these things on the radio. But the truth be said, you know, I have buyers that are coming to us on a daily basis. They come to myself, my team members, looking for a new place to live. And living on the water is a dream. A lot of people want to live that dream, and a lot of people at one point or another are determined to reach that goal and have a home with beautiful views and be able to enjoy the life on the water and to have their boat or their jet skis and be able to go out, whether you're going through the Great South Bay or out to the Atlantic or wherever the case is. They want to live that dream, but they're looking at articles like this and situations of disasters that are scaring people, and they're pulling back the brakes and they're scared. And you know what? You have the right to be scared, because you should know what you're getting into when you're buying a house on the water. And the number one thing I tell everybody, if I was in a position of buying a house that's on the water, and that's one of the goals and dreams that I have in my life, at one point or another, I'd like to have a home right on the water. It's not going to happen now because I'm already embedded very deeply into my neighborhood, and my children are in the schools, and any change of environment, it's not going to happen for a very long time, until at least they're done with their schools. But at one point, I'd like to get there myself. That being said, I think going into and wanting to buy a house on the water is a great thing. And if you're coming to me asking me, should I do it or should I? Absolutely, you should do it, because that's what you want and that's what you're going to enjoy. The thing is, and the key to doing that properly is actually buying a house, one by going in educated and understanding what it means living on the water, and two, buying a house that's properly constructed to be able to withstand any type of weather. Now, what do I mean by properly constructed? Okay, if you're buying an older house, one, you want to make absolute sure that you're buying a house that has been elevated to FEMA or above that codes as far as the height restrictions. You want to have a house that is elevated well above the water table. You want to make sure that you're not going to have that issue, because I'll tell you something, and that's another problem that I have with some of the older homes that have been lifted, especially the ones that have been lifted and have not been reconstructed entirely. A lot of them have had damage in the past. A lot of them have been affected by the weather, whether it be Sandy or whether it be Irene, when we got hit by that. Some people got bombarded within a short time period between Hurricane Irene and Hurricane Sandy. And because of the severity of Sandy, people tend to forget how bad Irene was as well, because Irene did affect some areas in a tremendous way. But that being said, buying a house that has been just lifted or modified, or you don't know if there's stuff behind the walls that have not been addressed and that kind of thing. That's one of the issues. So if you're going to buy a lift and you're going to go in there with a clean slate, and you can buy the lower price homes that are just lifted, you want to make sure that it's done properly. Everything's good. Make sure you bring in an inspector to make sure that everything is done appropriately, and there's no corrosion, and there's no other red flags that possibly could come up for a house that may have been submerged at one point. Now you have the other option as well, but buying a house that's brand new, that's new construction. And that's a big deal, because knowing that your house was never affected by the water because it didn't exist when any storm was there, that's a huge thing. That's major. I don't think people realize the value on that. And, you know, new construction homes are always sold at a premium. That's part of the big premium that you're paying. Knowing that your house has never been affected by any type of weather of that sort. Knowing that you're not going to go in there with any surprises behind the walls. Knowing that you're the first person to ever use that home is a major deal. And that's the reason why a lot of times you're paying premiums on these homes. Because besides the fact that it was built and it's brand new and everything has no usage on it, because you think of a house almost the same way you have a car. A car, when you buy brand new off the lot, it has a certain value and a certain reliability and a certain durability. 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 100,000, 200,000 miles down the line, that house, even though you're maintaining it, even though, I'm sorry, that car, even though that you're maintaining it and treating it properly, doesn't have the same durability, doesn't have the same reliability, doesn't have the same value as something that's brand new. It's just how it is. So you're paying a premium from that end. But the fact that, if you're going to be buying a house on the water or close to the water at this point, knowing that something that was built within the past couple of years, and purchasing it, that you bought something that is completely at the point of reliability. The safety features are up to date with what, not only what the town code is, what the FEMA code is, and at the same time, the materials used are much better than what they were 10, 20, 30 years ago. Because you could buy a house that was made and built properly and built to code 20 years ago, and that house might not necessarily comply to what affects us today. It's one thing to be above the water table to a certain point, and another thing to be built properly and built materials from today. That makes a big difference. And, these are the small little things that people really don't understand. I mean, I'm saying the small little things, the things that people that are not that visual compared to something that's a little more tangible. What type of materials are used under the ground and inside the walls? You can't really see that, but you should have knowledge of that and understand that. And when you're purchasing properties on the water, it makes all the difference. So if I was buying today and I needed to stretch my budget to buy something that was brand new over something that was possible modified, 1,000%, even if it means I have to strain a little bit to shell out a couple extra dollars in order to make that work, I will, because knowing that I'm safe and that my family's safe and that I'm in a position where I'm not going to have to worry every little rainstorm or big rainstorm that comes along that I could be in danger, or my home could be affected in a tremendous way. It's something that people need to think about and understand. Now, all that being said, let's take into consideration where the flood insurance is. Now, you have the houses that have not been properly lifted, or the houses that are older, that are now new construction, that are compliant to what the codes are today, and they're being bombarded with high insurance rates. And it is sad how high the rates have gone. In some cases, these insurance rates that people are paying, it's almost like another mortgage. It is a tremendous amount of money. And you have a lot of people that are trying to sell their homes where they might have high property taxes to start with, then add another expensive ticket, which is their flood insurance. And now it makes it very difficult for them to sell their houses because they have a certain price tag on the house. And even if they're giving it in a fire sale and they're selling the house at a low price, they're going to have a big problem selling it, because the people that are purchasing, knowing those carrying costs are not only not going to go away, they're only going to get increase along the line. And the way I look at it is, you have two options. If you have an older home or a home that's not elevated properly and you're paying high flood insurance, your two options are sell it and get out of there before it gets even worse, or two, lift it, remodify it or knock it down and rebuild it in order to one, be safer, and two, have more affordable flood rates. Because I'll tell you something that I've been seeing all across the board, all the new construction homes that are going, or the ones that have been lifted well, actually not above to regulations and above, have modified their flood insurances, and they've gone down to very favorable numbers. You're talking about numbers that are between $500 to $600 a year, not a month. Because a lot of times I'll have buyers come in on one of my new construction builds, and they say, "How much is the flood insurance?" And I'll tell them, it's $550, $600 a month, a year, and they say, "What do you mean? You mean a month?" "No, I mean a year." "Well, how is that possible? I'm paying $7,000. I'm paying $6,000 a year in flood insurance." "That's because you're not lifted. That's not because you're not brand new. That's because you've had a history with your house of taking claims on your flood insurance, and your rates have gone through the roof. That's why." And it's hard for people to understand that, and it's a scary thing, and it's something that could be very taxing on somebody's wallet and somebody's family and your finances. They gave letters a while ago, basically telling everybody that you could go. That they were basically going to start escalators of 10% annual increases on the flood insurance. Even if you start at $3,000 or $2,000 as flood insurance, you could get very expensive very quickly with that escalator, because it's not only 10% this year, then next year it's 10% on top of what you had this year with their 10% increase, and it just gets compiled. And before you're paying $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 in flood insurance. And this sounds a little crazy and a little bit out there as I'm saying it, but it's just the way it is. And if you read between the lines and you actually completely understand the model of how they're increasing this flood insurance, you'll understand thoroughly what I'm saying right now. It's not an ideal situation. So now they're looking at these increases happening for 2020 with the redo. Okay, so I'm looking from this point of view. I have people that read this article that panicked and freaked out completely, that were hot in the middle of. Speaking of hot, I got to take the jacket off. I'm burning up in here. That's the only thing I don't like about this weather. It's almost like air conditioning weather, but nobody turns on the air conditioning yet. So that being said, a lot of the things that happens with the way these I just lost my train of thought. I don't that's what happens to me whenever I start getting into these hot flashes with my jacket and I have to take it off. But that being said, well, the situation is with when you're looking at it from the point of view that if you're looking at the rates as they're currently set up, and you have people that are freaking out completely today because of what they're saying, and I have people that are hot. They want to buy a house on the water. They read an article like this, and they say, "Nick, am I doing the wrong thing? Should I be not looking in the water?" Well, here's my answer to them. Well, thankfully, most of the people that I'm dealing with are not looking for houses that are not elevated, and they're not looking for houses that are at or under the water table. They're looking for houses that are lifted or new constructions, because that's usually, the thing I tell people for more than anything else. What's the price point that you're looking at is number one, and that will factor in what kind of house you're going to buy. Because I'll tell you something, it's not very common that you're going to find a $300,000-$400,000 house that's completely renovated and lifted. It's just not going to happen unless, I don't know, maybe you're in Mastic Beach or something like that. They all the way out. That could possibly happen, but it's not happening in Nassau. It's not very easy to do. But when you're looking at it from the point of view that you have people panicking, and I'm telling them, as long as you buy brand new, or at the very least, a house that has been properly reconstructed and lifted, then you're okay. Because now your flood insurance reflects that. And the thing is, people need to verify this. Don't take the listing agent's word for it, or even the buyer's agent. Oftentimes, a lot of buyer's agents, they don't know. They're just taking the word of anybody else, or they're guessing. Unfortunately, I hope you always want to verify. But whenever I give information on insurances, on taxes, and everything, I always tell everybody, verify for yourself. This is what I'm giving you. These are the letters that are mandated either through the companies or through the town. I always offer that out when somebody asks or questions it. But even then, when I'm showing something from the town or from the insurance company on the policy, I always say, here's the number, call up and verify on your own. I don't want you to take my word for it. I have nothing to hide. You show them the way it is, and you won't have an issue. But a lot of times things are not really properly displayed out there, and then they're not fully understood a lot of times. Sometimes by the listing agent, but sometimes by the buyer's agent. Sometimes even the seller doesn't fully understand everything. I should say a lot of times. Because I've had situations where you had homeowners that were clueless. They didn't realize it. I can't even tell you how many situations I had where somebody was paying $2,000-$3,000 in flood insurance. I would go in there to speak to them for the first time, and the first thing I asked them, "Do you have an elevation certificate?" Yes. Okay. Since you have an elevation certificate, why are you paying so much in flood insurance? That's the first thing you should ask them. And I always go tell them that you have this elevation to supply, and more times than not, they actually get a reduction going forward. Not saying that that's always the case, but sometimes people pay things and not know what they're paying, or not realize they have an option not to have to pay that much because they just don't have the guidance. And sometimes, I'm a big believer in always looking into everything on your own, regardless, and not taking everybody's word for anything. But at the same time, you need to understand that just because something is given to you in a certain way doesn't mean that's the only way it is. You have to always question it, and you always have to look into it. It's just, I think it's common sense. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't have common sense, so it is what it is. But that being said, if you're looking at a home and you're questioning the flood insurance, ask. And if the agent knows what they're doing and is well versed not only to the process, to all the information on the house, they'll be able to give you the information in a heartbeat, and you should have no question. I'm not going to mention certain neighborhoods, one over the other, but there's some areas that are notorious for muddying up the information on the way the houses are put out there, especially when it comes to elevation, and it comes to lifts and to flood insurance, and even down to the property taxes. I mean, there's a lot of homes out there and a lot of misrepresented listings out there. That's unfortunate. And again, I'm not going to purposely not even say the town or towns, because I don't want to point the finger to individuals, because if you go and look into those towns, if I mention them, you'll be able to figure out which listings I'm talking about over the others. And I don't want to make a point of focusing like that. But it's just it's a shame. It really is a shame that we have to live in a situation like this, where a lot of people are living in fear. A lot of people are in their homes and don't have other options as far as being able to get out, because if they sell their place for whatever they end up selling the place, they're going to be in a position where they're not going to be able to afford a proper replacement or an adequate, even replacement. And it's a tough thing. And forget about the fact that they're forced to move out of their neighborhood, out of their block, maybe somewhere that they lived for like 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Who knows how long they lived in a certain house. It's unfortunate. It really is. But my angle and my thoughts are articles like this should not be set up in a way where they're there just to scare people and intimidate them. I think news agencies, whether it's print or whether it's the media on the radio, whether it's media online or on television, they all have responsibilities. I guess that puts me in that place too, because I'm on the radio right now and I'm kind of doing a public service show. So we all have the responsibility to be able to give not only one side of the story, we should give the entire picture of the story. And we should not be scaring the public and causing mass hysteria without informing them in a proper way. Like I said, this whole topic is a very scary topic, and a lot of it can't be avoided. It really can't. Like I said, the finances behind sustaining FEMA the way it is currently constructed it's not sustainable. It's unsustainable. It just doesn't work the way it is. And will increases have to be done down the line? Absolutely. But I'll tell you something, if all the houses were constructed properly and there were less claims in place and the cost on these policies, the actual dollar amounts on these policies paid out on a yearly basis or every time we have a major storm was reduced significantly, I promise you that the actual current rates would be reduced as well. It's just one of those things that it's hard. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't kind of a situation. But, I'm talking to a lot of people on a daily basis, the people that actually lifted their homes or I know a few people that actually knocked down their homes completely. Not everybody has that luxury and not everybody has that ability to do so, but they knocked down their homes completely, rebuilt it in the proper fashion, completely above elevation and fit the not only conforming to the codes, in many cases they went above that. And they have no problem. I talked to them, they're paying $500-600 in flood insurance. They haven't had a problem ever since with storms. And you know what? We've had storms. We haven't had Sandy magnitude storms, but we had storms. I don't know if everybody remembers. We had a whole bunch of nor'easters that hit last year right around this time. And we just kept getting blasted over and over again. Right this month. This month was miserable last year. But we just get hit over and over again with nasty weather. And guess what? The brand new construction homes were not affected in any way. The houses that were elevated and properly rebuilt, not affected in any way. Who got affected? The ones that are still at water level. You can't force people to do what needs to be done. And at the same time, I completely understand. The finances are not there for a lot of people. But it starts with thinking about a better program. The incentives obviously needed to be adjusted as far as giving people the opportunity to be able to rebuild properly or lift their homes properly. And what was given to a lot of the individuals out there was not enough. It definitely was not. And it was a joke. And basically, a lot of that money and those funds were used as Band-Aids. That's all that was done. That's all that was done. And it's sad. I've seen houses that were redone after Sandy, and a lot of them that are really close to the water or like under the water table have gotten water. They continuously get water, even after they redid all the interior and sometimes the exterior. It's unfortunate. I'm just happy. I'm very happy that I'm getting to see all the entire picture. A lot of people I know that over the past couple of years, I've been doing a significant amount of stuff on the South Shore, which was not necessarily what I normally would have done. Everybody knows I did a lot more stuff on the North Shore or Central Nassau and stuff in Queens, Brooklyn. I mean, I've still done stuff on the water in Brooklyn and Queens, over by Long Island City and parts of Astoria and Brooklyn and other sections as well. But not necessarily too much in the South Shore. But over the past couple of years, I want to say 3-4 years, I've been doing a significant amount. It just so happens that, the reason for that was that I was heavily affected by the storm when Sandy hit. I'll give you a little bit of background. When we got hit by Sandy years ago, I was one of these crazy agents that actually didn't sit back and wait for the recovery to happen. And I was actually called out by insurance companies, banks, and different other agencies that were looking for people on the field to go run and take pictures and evaluate properties and basically send back reports to them indicating how severe the damage was. So immediately after the storm hit, I was running down to all over the South Shore, Freeport, the Rockaways. I was running to Long Beach, out east. I was going all over the place. I mean, there was a lot of places up in the South Shore, North Shore that I was going routinely to. Bayville was a disaster at that point. You could get across the bridge. You had to go through that whole other area. I mean, it was just one of those situations. So I was seeing everything immediately right after the storm hit. And then it got a little worse after we got hit by snow a few days later in some areas. So I had to go back and forth to a couple places after we got hit multiple with that snowstorm, because it affected things in a different way as well too, because of the weight of the snow and damaging already fragile areas that were affected by the initial storm. But that being said, that's history, and that's just a little bit of background of what got me more and more involved doing stuff on the South Shore. And I'm not the expert, and I'm not even going to pretend or act like I'm the expert on this topic. But the thing is, I do know enough, and I make sure that I'm informed about it as much as possible. And I do make sure that I'm mindful to everybody's situation. And that means buyers, sellers, and everybody that gets directly involved with these type of issues, such as flood insurance. And I know I spent this whole show talking about the flood insurance, but it's such a major thing. I mean, it really is a major, major problem, and it needs to be addressed. And it needs to be addressed in a proper way. By putting together articles like this on Newsday, it's scaring people away. And if everything down there was scary, I'd be all with them, and I'd be harping in with them, and I'd be jumping on the bandwagon and that kind of thing. But it's not all scary. It's only scary if you have a subpar type of home in the area. And I'm sorry that I'm saying it in a really blunt and almost like a nonchalant kind of way. And believe me, I'm not saying this in a way to be derogatory or to be dismissive of some people's homes as far as the quality and the way the house looks and the way it's built. Some of these houses are beautiful houses that have been constructed beautifully. They're subpar because they're not above the water tables, or they're not high enough, and they get affected continuously with storms. It's a shame. It's truly a shame that you're seeing homes. You have $2-3 million homes that every time there's a major storm, your you're you're holding your breath, hoping that your house is not going to flood, or hoping that the windows are not going to break. I mean, don't even get me involved, like started about the quality construction of the windows and the exterior and the roofs and all that. I spent an entire show talking about what type of roofing to put in there, storm watch windows, that kind of thing. We talked about that, and if you really want to hear more about it, you could always go to my YouTube channel. I have a playlist all on that information. I'd be more than willing to give everybody additional information and talk your ear off about it as far as how quality of materials make a difference as far as being able to endure the elements. I could get into that. And again, we don't have enough time in a show like this to be able to get into full details on that. And I wish I had longer time schedule, and maybe we'll work on that in the future. I don't know if Trevor is going to be happy about me extending the show at one point or another, or the rest of the audience as far as holding this show for longer than an hour. But maybe that's what it'll take, because there's just clearly not enough time to get into topics like this and get into all the details. But the way I want to leave off on this is, just because an article like this came out and you're looking to purchase a house on the water, don't let it scare you off. Just buy wisely. Choose wisely. Do your due diligence. Look at all the things that are important. Not only the way the house looks, not only the way it feels and the surrounding properties around it and that kind of thing, which are always an important thing, but look at the way it's been constructed. And do not be afraid to ask questions. The worst thing you could do is nod your head and act like you understand what's happening, and you end up buying a house for $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, whatever you end up buying on the water, and you didn't ask the right questions, and you just got yourself in trouble the first storm that comes along. And here's the other thing: just because a house didn't report a claim, I just want to make this very clear. I neglected to say this previously. Just because a home did not report a claim during one of these storms or any storm does not necessarily mean that it was not affected. And I hope everyone understands that. There's been plenty of homes out there that got severely damaged and they didn't make claims for one reason or another. And what everybody's personal reasons why, I'm not even going to get into that. Maybe they didn't have insurance. Maybe whatever the case is. Maybe they didn't realize they could. Who knows? Maybe it was so severe they didn't want to have record of it. There's so much stuff that's out there. But there's many homes out there that did get hurt by Sandy or by Irene or some other storm that would never submitted claims, and they got patched up, they got redone, but you do not know what's behind those walls. You don't know what's going on under that house. There's so much stuff that's why a good inspector goes a long way. You have a really good inspector, they'll be able to pick up on certain red flags and certain issues. You can't be relying only on the real estate agent to help you with that. In case like that, more than anything else, you always want to have an inspector on buying an older home by the water. It's just the way it is. And I'm going to actually have a home inspector coming down the line of being on the show with me. And I'm going to make a point of discussing what the difference is of doing an inspection on your traditional type of home, inland, versus a house that's on the water. And there's very specific differences. And there's things that if they're not knowledgeable of, they could actually cause you more damage than good because the neglect of looking into these things. So again, that's another story for another day, and we'll definitely get into that. So like I said, I'm leaving off this topic by basically saying make sure you do your due diligence. If you're buying in the area, buy something that's either been completely renovated, lifted properly. At the very least, if you have the opportunity, you have the ability to purchase something that's new, always go with new. That's my recommendation. Obviously, it's more expensive than it is the other alternative, but it's always a good solution, better solution than anything else, because you know that it's gone through the tedious, stringent process of being built by today's standards, not 20 years ago, not 30 years, not 50 years ago. So you definitely want to go that route. So we spent the whole show on this topic. I'm not going to continue on this. Everybody has any questions, they are always free to email, message me, um, send something through social media, through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever they want to me. If you got pictures of great examples of homes that are built on the water that are compliant, send those in to me. I'd love to post them. If you have disaster pictures to send me over, send those as well. I'll put everything and everything in between. So we could definitely use that. Now I want to address the current contest that we're running. Again, I want to remind everybody, this contest is relating to the most unique piece of marketing material out there. And I want to thank everybody that's been sending me all this stuff out, getting an overwhelming response. But I have to be really honest with everybody. It's not wowing me. The key to this contest is to be the most unique, interesting, unique, different, not cookie cutter. So anything cookie cutter, I'm thanking the people that send it to me, but it's definitely not going to be in the contention. The other thing is, just because it's a beautiful marketing piece, and some of the stuff that's sent to me is beautiful, absolutely stunning the way it looks, it's not unique. It's really well made. It's really sharp. It looks professional, and I would use on any of my listings at any time, any day, but it's not original. It's not unique. I'm looking for that unique stuff, that out of the box thinking kind of stuff, and that's how we're going to approach it. And that, honestly, the price on this is a great scenario for somebody that's in the business that wants to promote themselves. I'm giving the winner the opportunity to have some airtime and talk about their marketing strategy, and at the same time, I'm also giving out a $50 Visa gift card to the winner as well. So keep the items coming. We're running to the end of the month, but honestly, if I keep getting this kind of stuff sent to me, I'm gonna extend it. I'm not gonna stop it at the end of the month, because I want unique stuff. I want stuff that really qualifies to be out of the box, different, and original. So keep it all coming. I'm looking really forward to it. We are coming close to the end of our show. Trevor is going to yank me out any minute now, and just wanted to thank everybody again for joining me today. Have a great evening. Have a great week, and I'll see you again next week, same time on the Real Estate Plate between 6 to 7 p.m. Thank you. Have a great night.